Hey, everybody, welcome to Matt Men, your source for all things professional wrestling. I'm Andrew Zarian. I'm joined by the Beatmaster, Rich Stambolian. How you doing, Rich? No, not that kind of beats. Like borscht.
What kind of beats? Oh, like
borscht.
Beats.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they make your poop red.
This is our welcome, everybody. If this is the first time you're watching on the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 online website, welcome to the show. It's all about professional wrestling. It's a little bit different than most wrestling shows. We don't sit here and do a review of every match into small details. It's a conversation amongst two huge wrestling fans, lifelong wrestling fans and lifelong friends. I feel like I got to kind of give like a summary of who we are now to people, because I think that there's a whole brand new audience that's flooding in for this episode that's never checked this out. Listen, we like to have fun. Give it a shot. If you hate it, you hate it. All right, cool. If you like it, awesome. You're here. We've been doing this for almost 10 years now. We have a great community here of people that love pro wrestling. Great group of people here that really enjoy having a conversation and not saying everything sucks, which is the best part of this. But this is our first show on the Wrestling Observer website. And of course, I want to thank Brian and Tony for setting everything up. This is going to be a fun little ride. And man, what a week to start off, because I don't know where to begin, because there was so much great wrestling. And I guess we could start off by Wrestle Kingdom. Obviously, last night's shows both did a stellar job. Awesome job. A lot of news to discuss. NXT call-ups happening. A lot of stuff is moving. So let's start off with Wrestle Kingdom. Rich, I did not go into Wrestle Kingdom expecting to love it as much as I did.
Same here.
Because, listen, it's more vibe, right? Forget about it. The talent's the talent. They're unbelievable. But the vibe is crappy with everything going on in the world. And, obviously they can't fill it up with 40,000 people in there. I believe there was an average crowd of 12,000 people. That's in my notes. I got to double check that. But I think that's about right. MG Geek provided the notes, of course, thanks to him. And, man, night one was really good. And night two was awesome, too.
Oh, both nights were ridiculous. I really do. I know we have like a little back and forth about this on the show, but I am a big fan of splitting it up over two nights. That night one, easy to digest. Night two, also easy to digest. Night one was banging too, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, I would tell you, honestly, these two nights changed my opinion of this, of splitting it.
Really?
Yeah, because I thought it worked. They were quick shows. The first night was what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, it was a 3+ show. I think it was approaching 3 hours.
Yeah.
But the way New Japan does it is if you're a subscriber to New Japan World, they give you like the empty arena shots. So like if you're looking at a timestamp and it says like, let's say a 4-hour event, a lot of that is just shots of the crowd and shots of the ring while people get ready.
Yeah, they do what we do on the live feed. We broadcast live on Thursdays, and pretty much today, I'll go live like 10 minutes before, and we were just setting up, and Rich was playing with the new lighting because he has a new setup there because of COVID and everything. We haven't been in the same studio for a little bit, but Rich was setting up the lighting and everything. I'm like, that's exactly what you see on New Japan World, some lighting guys setting up the rig.
Yeah, exactly. Just like it's just an empty arena, empty ring, and then you kind of wait, and then somebody will make an announcement. Like depending on what kind of commentary you watch, we should have Japanese commentary for our podcast, though.
I think we need that. Listen, I know that that there's a lot of stuff going on. I think we need a Japanese commentary guy for the podcast. So where do you want to be? You want to run this down really quickly? I don't want to go through match by match, but I first of all, we need to apologize to MG Geek. To Matt, because of the New Year's Rambo. Because I started laughing at him last week. I'm like, a Rambo? I'm like, Sly Stallone? Like, what the hell is a Rambo? And then I realized it's literally New Japan Rambo, which is their Rumble, whatever they call it now. Really weird. I didn't like this. This was... I don't know, it was just convoluted. So you had Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, Bushi, and Toru Yano to advance to the next day to challenge for the provisional King of Pro Wrestling 2021 trophy on night 2. Dude, didn't we talk about this 2 weeks ago where we said, you know what would be an interesting ending? We were talking about Lana doing this, right? I think Dave and Brian spoke about this, but for months or years we've discussed, what would happen if number 30 just came out and someone got eliminated? And they kind of did this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know what? I like them doing stuff with Yano. It makes it more entertaining.
You love him.
I do love him. And I think, like, what people don't get about the guy is that, like, this guy, he could go. He could go. But he's funny as hell, you know? And I think this is, like, that more entertaining aspect. And these guys are, like, New Japan lifers, right? Like, Chase Owens, Bad Luck, Bushi, Toriano. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
No, definitely not. So it started off with that. Then you go into night 1 of the show. You had Takahashi defeating El Fantasma. Great match, man. And, you know, Takahashi was taking it easy.
Yes.
He didn't really go nuts as much as I thought he would, but he looked, and then at the end, holy moly, he stepped it up, and he looked like $1 million.
ELP has been on everybody's radar for so long. Like, that dude is money. He is in that interesting, I think I mentioned this last week, he's in that Hangman Page position when Hangman was in the Bullet Club, where it's like, what's this guy gonna do? And I think he proved himself, like, big time on the Wrestle Kingdom show. I really liked his tribute tights.
They were awesome. Yeah, they were great.
Fantastic. Great match. That dude's definitely going. He looked like $1 million too.
Yeah, great guy. Tanahashi and Great Okan. Tanahashi looks like $1 million. Man, that guy is still in unbelievable shape. You know, listen, it's not the same Tanahashi of a couple years ago. Can't expect it to be. This guy's knees are shot. He's banged up, but man, he's their John Cena, right? And I know people, we say that sometimes, and people get really upset. But if you're coming into New Japan and you don't really recognize who these guys are, you look at him like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. He's like their John Cena. He's a total babyface. People love him. Great body, great athleticism. He's the guy. You know, he's the ace. Whatever. Defeated the Great Okan. Fine match. Match of the night for me was Okada and Will Osprey. I don't know if you feel the same.
What a story. What a match. Great story going into it. What an amazing match. I think these guys do nothing but good for each other. I think they definitely help each other. Especially somebody like Okada. Okada's been he's only 32. He's been at this for so long in New Japan, and arguably greatest pro wrestler of the modern era, top 3, right?
Okada's 32?
Yeah.
Man, you know what? We've been doing a show a very long time. Because remember, we used to say he's so young, he's in his 20s. This kid is still in his 20s.
Yep.
He's in his 30s now. Yeah.
You ever, let me ask you something. You ever say, you know how we were saying ELP or Tanahashi look like $1 million? You ever look at somebody in the ring and be like, this guy looks like $200?
I sometimes look at people and I'm like, he looks like a sack of shit. You know?
This guy looks like $30 right now.
I'm not gonna say who the wrestler was, but because I'm good friends with the guy. But you know, I work with Catalyst Wrestling, and I help put together the show, and I do a lot of the backstage stuff. And one of the guys that came, hey, I had a match, and he came back, and this guy's a funny. He's always a good guy, but he was off. I'm like, and everyone's like, congratulations, good job. Everybody's like, nah, they don't want to say look bad. I look at him, I'm like, dude, you fucking blew it. And I've never seen such a disappointed look on a human being. And I'm like, I went over and I hugged him because I felt so bad. And he's like, no, I get it. It was a bad match. I'm like, no, it's fine. I was just busting your chops, but it was terrible.
I do like that. You look like shit, bud.
You look like a sack of shit. Poor guy.
So, yeah, dude, Okada, Will Osprey, phenomenal match. The story there obviously is that Osprey turned on Okada a while ago, and he's got his new faction, the Empire, right?
Yes, the Empire.
Very cool, man. How'd you like that ending? First time in almost a year that Okada won with a Rainmaker.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought everything about that was great. I hope to see them again. This definitely solidifies Will Osprey as a top guy for the year for them.
Oh yeah.
Really talented. And he's put on a lot of size. Ton of weight and ton of muscle. So he's looking like $1 million. I'm trying to get through this as quickly as possible because there's so much to talk about. Kenta defeated Kojima, which I really enjoyed. This
Great match, huh?
Yeah,
hard hitting.
But we also got a John Moxley promo from the LA Dojo. So they're kind of setting up that this is where, they actually did set up. This is where this title defense is going to be, where Kenta, the #1 contender holder, is going to face John Moxley at the LA Dojo or whatever, that show that they're doing now. Interesting that John Moxley could work outside, within the U.S. for another company, which we were told that he wouldn't be able to. But he's been doing he did Bloodsport.
Yeah.
He's done other stuff that's been, recorded and redistributed. So I don't think it's that much of a big deal. But, this is a good time to take that title off of him. He doesn't have the AEW title, so you're not risking your champion losing to another guy. And we don't know when he's going to go back to Japan. So if they do something at the dojo, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, 100%. And you know what? That was like a nice little fun thing for the fans too, because I think we were going back, you and I were going back and forth along with, like our group chat and like stuff with the show about how it's very unlikely this guy was going to show up at Wrestle Kingdom, but they made it work in a very interesting and entertaining way.
Yeah. Also, I believe the second night was 8,000, right? It was 12,000 the first night, 8,000 the second night. Just wanted to verify on that because that's a big number, considering. IWGP Tag Team Championship, the Guerrillas of Destiny defeated Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. What did you think of this? I was in and out. I thought this was not a great... It wasn't as good as I thought it would be.
I think it got to me. It was me personally, I got caught up in the match. I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was super cool that GOD won their 7th IWGP championship. And I think they're the winningest tag team in New Japan history.
Is that true?
I think
it
so.
Could be. Wow.
I think so. Like, they've been there forever, right? Like, well, Tom has been there forever. And I guess Tonga Loa too. But
Tonga Loa's been there for quite a few years now.
This is kind of like that first thing of the bullet points that I want to mention later as far as like the Bullet Club stuff goes. Very interesting. You have these two guys, champs in Japan, right?
I like that. That's a good tag team name. Champs in Japan.
That's our tag team name in Japan.
That is. There you go. And then the main event time, obviously, IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship. Kota Ibushi defeated Tetsuya Naito, the champion, to become the double champ. He put out a message saying that he's looking to unify these titles. So I don't know if this is going to cancel the IC title, if they're going to combine a new title. There's a lot of moving parts. I really love the heritage of the IC title in New Japan. Do you know who the first IC champion was?
I don't know offhand, but I want to say Shinsuke Nakamura.
It was MVP.
Ooh, really?
MVP is the first IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Yeah.
So 2007.
7, 8, 6, 7, 8,
something like that.
Something
right?
like that.
6,
Someone
7,
can verify. 6, 7, 8.
Sometime in the 2000s.
I gotta tell you, my memory is like this when it comes to the 90s.
Oh yeah.
But you hit the mid 2000s and something happened. I can't tell you. I don't know why. Night 1 was great. Night 2, we're gonna run through this again really quickly. Provisional King of Pro Wrestling 2021 trophy. Toru Yano defeated Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Bushi to win and retain the Provisional King of Pro Wrestling 2021 trophy. Whatever. I didn't really care for this. Now, this gets interesting.
Wait a sec. Wait a sec. You don't want to talk about that Naito Ibushi match at all?
Oh, yeah. Go into it. Sorry, man.
Oh, my God. What a great story. Number one, these guys have been going at it for a billion years. I really didn't think Ibushi was going to take it. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger on him finally.
You know what? If there was any moment to do this, it would be now, right? I feel like they kind of had to, because everybody last year was ready for the Ibushi push, and obviously he lost night 1. Mm-hmm. And I think this was this would have been, if the year was normal, this would have been a great come-up-in story for him again. He lost. This was his opportunity, and now it's a rebuilding year, like what they did to Okada a couple years ago, where he had a rebuilding year. This would have been a good year to tell that story, to come to this moment. But you know what, dude? He's the right guy for this title. He looks unbelievable. He's one of the best. Dude, one of the best wrestlers.
Gigantic right now. Absolutely.
And you could, this category of the best wrestler, it's pretty broad. It's a spectrum more than anything else. You could be there's so many the best in the world, right? There's so many best wrestlers in the world at any given time. You could say Kenny Omega, you could say Okada, you could say John Moxley at a point. You could say
even Tanahashi, Roman Reigns, throw him in the conversation. Why not?
Yeah,
AJ Styles.
These guys, it goes up and down. So I think at this moment, I mean, Kota Ibushi definitely shined in this match. Naito, he looks hurt. I don't know if he is. It's the years of, it's hard to go to do that style for so many years. But man, they did a killer match, unbelievable. But I do think night 2 was the better match. Night 1 was unbelievable for the title. I think night 2, the Jay White match, was even better. Went 48 minutes, which we'll get into.
Oh, my God.
So, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship, El Desperado and Kanemaru defeated Taguchi and Master Wato to retain. Good match.
Good match.
Do you like Wato? Do you like Master Wato? Because I don't know how people feel about him.
I like, you know what? Honestly, I like everybody on that roster. And I'm not even taking a dump on anybody, but my low point is always Yoshihashi.
Is that really?
It's true. Like every time, like, and again, it's nothing personal. Every time I see Yoshihashi on my screen, I'm like, so he's the one guy that I'm just like kind of sour on. But listen, him and maybe Great Okan too. Great Okan, I'm like, all right.
I'm into the Great Okan. I like him because of his name.
Yeah,
I think it's such a carny name. It's phenomenal. You had this match, dude. You had the Never Open Championship. Shingo Takagi and Jeff Cobb. Takagi, Mr. Jefferton Copperton, yeah. And Shingo Takagi. I can't say it today, man. I'm sorry. You know what's funny? I was looking at the notes last night, and I don't know. I had a glass of wine, and I haven't drank in like 4 days. And I took, I was drinking. It was on my second glass, and I'm looking at these notes. I'm like, Papa Shango? I kept reading it. Like, my brain kept seeing Shingo as Papa Shango. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Matt, MG Geek, that did the notes.
Were you texting Mr. Gonzo saying, like, yo, you're this close to getting fired, bro. Spell these names right.
Yeah.
Who the F is Papa Shango right now?
Dude, Jeff Cobb looks like a beast. That guy's a monster.
He is a monster. I think he fits so well in that New Japan ring, and he looks like such a monster over there.
Listen, Mike Elgin had the same presence, right? Elgin had a tremendous presence when he went to Japan, and he looked great over there. I mean, everything happened, but I think this is a good asset for them to have. I mean, the pure talent is unbelievable. Sonata defeated Evil. I actually missed this match. I was running out of time when we were doing this. I just saw parts of it. What did you think of it?
Solid match, a lot of passion. Like another. This was like a cool. As a whole, I think New Japan this year did the best they could with the circumstances because you had those betrayal angles, right? So you had the Osprey Okada, and I think in this one too, you had Evil and Sonata. They were buds, they were tag team champs, and then all of a sudden, Evil joins the Bullet Club, wins the IWGP Championship. Where does that leave Sonata, right? And Sonata, when a great mood is protege, that dude has such a future, and I think we've been saying that for the last few years too. We'll get to that at the end, but it's going to be his time soon, within the next couple of years.
I do feel like Shingo gained a lot of weight over the last couple of months.
Or
no, just like size-wise, he's gotten bigger. Okay. He's gotten bigger. I don't know how much muscle it is, but he's gotten bigger. Listen, man, we all put on that COVID-19, Mm-hmm. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. This is his second match. Takahashi defeated Ishimura. Great match. Loved it. Win the IWGP Championship. Listen, what else can we say about this? Phenomenal match.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we have the main event. There were a couple things from this main event. Jay White is stellar. I got to tell you, this performance sold me so much more, and I was already high on Jay White. Sold me so much more. This dude is up there. He's been in the business, I believe, 7 years, 6.5, 7 years,
something like that. Right?
And
also
he's
very young guy.
Young guy, headlining the show with one of the best. These guys put on a stellar 48-minute match, the longest match in the Tokyo Dome history.
28 years old.
He's 28 years old. Ibushi's like 67, but nobody knows.
Exactly.
He doesn't look it. But my God, great match. What a great ending. In the end, Kota Ibushi is celebrating in the ring, and who comes out? Sonata to, I guess, challenge for the title. So you can see that that's going to be the program. And Jay White, in his post-interview, said, I'm done. This is it.
After New Year's Dash, he's out. So what do you think that means, Andrew?
It could be a work. Mm-hmm. It could be that he's headed to NXT.
Okay. Rumble?
I don't know when his contract actually ends. I asked, and if it makes any sense, it would have to be the end of January.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'll ask Brian too. I have no idea. But wherever this guy goes, he would do great. But again, unpopular opinion. I think he would shine a little bit more in WWE.
Okay, well, when you look at the options, right? Let's lay it on the table.
Okay.
NXT.
Okay.
Main roster.
Okay.
Ring of Honor.
Okay.
Staying in New Japan.
Okay. AEW and Impact.
And Impact. So, my whole thing with Jay White is if he's allowed to talk in that microphone, he could put asses in seats. Right?
Yes.
That dude,
yes.
He's a very underrated talker. The dude cuts an awesome promo. Even night one of Wrestle Kingdom when Ibushi won, that promo that Jay White cutted him at the end of the show, fantastic. It gave me goosebumps.
What do you think Vince thinks of his accent?
I think he probably thinks he's from like Ohio.
Yeah. He's like, I hate that Ohio accent. What is he, from the South? What is he?
So, like, I think if whatever company gets him and lets him go nuts on that microphone, it'll be for the better. And I think if you're going with that regard, it's very limited. Like, you think he's going to get mic time in NXT? Or
I think so.
Main roster?
Yeah. I think listen, you got to talk strategy also, right? You got to talk about it's not even just like, okay, he's available, let's sign him. Or put him on Raw or SmackDown. It's okay. We have a defensive measure against AEW because everybody could see that NXT is a defensive measure. They're not on the offense here. The whole purpose of NXT on Wednesday nights is to not make sure AEW does not stay above 1 million viewers. They could hit 1 million occasionally, but let's take out that 30%, that 300,000 or so viewers that'll go from, that'll watch if NXT's not on. Let's take that away. Jay White would be a great answer to that, considering, the roster's a little not so great.
Now, let me ask you a supplementary question to that.
Yeah.
Right? As much as you and I and the people who watch our podcast love New Japan, will Jay White's popularity and street cred carry over to that WWE product?
It depends, right? And I think that's a great question. And I'd love, that's a great question for the chat room too. I think people are just discovering Jay White, and I'm gonna tell you why I say this. I think for a lot of people, they don't know what he could do. Listen, you could be a fly by night and New Japan viewer, right? A lot of people are. A lot of people don't commit to every show. They watch the big ones. So you're getting those bits and pieces. I'm not comparing him to Kenny Omega, but it is a little bit of the Kenny Omega factor here, where that's how he got discovered and the internet buzz kind of kept it rolling. I don't know, going to AEW would be, I think for the fans, we would love it, right? Fans would love him there. But I think for his career, it would be best for him to go over to NXT. And build that product and become the guy there, have those matches with Adam Cole, have those matches with Finn Balor, and then, you could take somebody and move him to the main roster, and now he's the guy. Just like how they did in 2015, 2016, the process of moving over. What do you think?
I think, honestly, like, the landscape of pro wrestling is changing so rapidly now post-COVID, and it seems like everything's kind of opening up, right? As far as every other company besides WWE. I think him staying in New Japan would lead to the same, if not more, opportunities, because if you look at the trajectory of what's happening, Jay White could talk, he could work. You kind of have that burgeoning relationship with AEW, right? The Impact guys could come over to Japan. The AEW guys could come over to Japan once the shores start opening. Who's to say that one of your next major feuds for 2021 isn't Jay White versus John Moxley?
Yeah,
for that U.S. title again.
Dude, it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to talk about, or listen, this could be a work, and I don't even know, to be honest. I know that he was in New York a couple of weeks ago. I know that he was here for a signing. I know he lives in Florida. Yep. These are things that kind of play a factor in your day-to-day. And if you're living in Florida, your house is in Florida, you're making a conscious decision to move to the States.
Right, but that also Florida. It's funny how Florida means either NXT or AEW.
I know.
Right?
Now it's a whole different story.
It's kind of interesting how like Florida has now become like so many wrestlers live in Florida. There's 2 major promotions going on in Florida. It's very interesting.
Florida's a wrestling territory.
Yeah, how wrestling is like evolving to this point, and I think that's something that we can really dive into, and I think it has a lot to do with like that small pre-COVID era, the COVID era, and then like kind of coming out of it a little bit, and I think as far as like quarantine goes with regards to Jay White, like why wouldn't you stay in Florida, right?
Yeah,
a lot of factors. Very interesting. It's fun to speculate about this stuff because like, if he's really done, is he the hottest free agent in pro wrestling right now?
I think so. I mean, we were talking about that, right? We like for weeks we were saying like, who's that next guy? I think he's the guy. Very interesting to see where this goes. Guys, I want to remind all of you, if this is the first time you're checking the show out, welcome. The show gets a little nutty sometimes. We're on our best behavior right now. I feel like, we're like, okay, we watch a lot of wrestling, a lot to talk about, but the show gets a little nutty. I really suggest you guys check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/MattMenPodcast. You can subscribe to us there. We're also on iTunes. We're everywhere podcasts are available. Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever, Pocket Cast, whatever you use, we're on there. Also, we are on the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 online website. Guys, listen, I know a lot of you guys are subscribers of the Observer. I believe, not consistently, but I want to say since 1998, I've been some sort of subscriber to the Observer. And I really, for me, it's become the go-to. If you go to the Wrestling Observer website right now, look at that. We are on the front page. The long-running Matt Man podcast will be joining the ranks of F4W and Wrestling Observer starting on Thursday. They have all the information over there. I absolutely, this is awesome. I'm very excited for this. And they do, 20 shows a week now at the Observer.
Wow.
They have about 20 shows. Subscriptions start at $11.99 a month. That includes full access to current and past Wrestling Observers and Figure 4 daily newsletters. 12,000 hours, not 1,200. 12,000 hours of archived podcasts and access to access to the exclusive message board. YouTube-only subscription for video version of Wrestling Observer Live, Brian and Vinny, and Figure 4 Daily are available for $7.99 a month. Guys, go check it out. Listen, we're part of the family now. We're part of the empire. I'm very excited for this. As someone that kind of, I think we've discussed this, Rich. A lot of my influence came from 3 people for my, broadcasting career. Let's call it a career, right? 10 years. I went down the tech path. I think a lot of people know me from there, from being on the tech podcast side. Since 2009, 2008, I've been doing a tech podcast called What the Tech. That is very true. So I started off on the technology side, but really my influences were 3 people in this business. It was Howard Stern, growing up in New York. It was Leah Laporte from Tech TV and Twit, and EYATA Radio. EYATA is where I first discovered Brian and Dave sometime in 99. And of course, live audio wrestling played a major part in late 90s, early 2000s for me. So this is a great, this is an honor to be recognized and be on that website and a culmination of all the stuff that we've done, Rich. And I really couldn't have done it without you. I'm just telling you that.
Thanks, buddy. You couldn't have done it without me either.
You're a major, major influence in my career. I couldn't have done it without you, and you couldn't have done it without yourself. So there you go.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. No, this is pretty cool. I got a personal question for you.
Oh yeah. I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you though. I'm gonna lie.
Do you think what would 16-year-old you's reaction be? You're 36, right?
30. I'm gonna be 37. Yeah.
Okay, what would 16-year-old you's reaction be if you travel back in time and were like, by the way, I'm doing a show for Figure 4 Online, and I'm also friends with some of the pro wrestlers that you currently enjoy? Like, what would
I would look at myself and be like, this is what you look like? This is what you did with your life? That's what I would have said. I would have been like, you're not a lawyer? That would have been my answer.
You would have been that astute at 16. And also, I think that's hysterical. I think it's great, and like when we first started doing the podcast, people would, and legit, no joke, people would come up to me if we ever got like quote unquote recognized, because we've been doing the video for so long. They'd be like, "Oh, hey, your co-host, I've watched him for years doing What the Tech."
Yeah.
And like that, the tech background stuff I find so fascinating, because like I think there's a lot of spillage and a lot of runoff from that viewership. You should be proud of yourself, man. This is awesome. Congratulations to you. You're the boss, man.
Thank you. People are now asking, what the hell is IATA? IATA, and dude, you want to know the weird connection to the whole Observer thing? And I'm going to go back into wrestling, guys. A little tangent here. We have all the time in the world. I'm not rushing. The weird connection with this is that my wife is the godmother to Chauncey Hayden's daughter. Chauncey Hayden's from the Howard Stern show. Chauncey was the morning guy on IATA, okay? He was the morning shock jock from, I guess, 6 to 9 or whatever time it was. He was the morning guy on IATA. He knows, like, I brought up, the Observer. He's like, this is like years ago. He goes, I own the entire IATA library. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, I bought it at auction for like $200. The entire thing is like on 4 CDs. So he has every Observer that was on IATA. So I'm like, dude, I'm sure they would want it. He's like, I'll give it if I could get it. Like, I don't even want money. If I could find it, it's somewhere in an office or a basement at his old boss's place. Like, I want to get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to find those clips because it's a very limited amount of it. But he owns the entire library of everything on IATA, which is really, what a weird connection. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I'm not getting him spiritual, whatever, but it's like the weird universal connections, Everybody's connected somehow.
Hey, man, that Akashic memory.
Yes. Yeah. So, listen, very cool. Guys, go over there, support us over there. We're also going to be doing more stuff. Like, this is not it. Like, this show that we're doing right now, this is the freebie on there. You don't have to sign up and pay for it. But we are talking about doing another episode of Matman, or maybe calling it something a little different, and doing another show behind their subscription model. So I'm very excited to get that going and start this. And this is going to be a fun ride, guys. So I'm glad all of you are here with us. We're nice. We're friendly people here. We're really friendly.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Go
ahead.
Sometimes, except for the drinking shows.
Those get out of hand, but as my wife likes to say, we're all nice boys.
We are nice boys.
We're the nicest boys.
We're the nicest boys.
Let's do this.
New Year's Dash Fallout. I'm just going to go through very quickly. Kota Ibushi and Sanada is going to be the program. Tanahashi and Shingo. Awesome. And Takahashi and Sho.
Great.
From the boy band Sho and Yo. The great boy band Sho and Yo. Let's talk about last night. I thought last night, stellar wrestling. I genuinely liked both shows so much that I'm not even going to pick a winner here. I really enjoyed NXT. I really enjoyed AEW. I think because I'm in a good mood. I think a lot of how we perceive this the following day, or when we talk about it, is how we're watching and what kind of place we're in mentally when we're watching it. You always say, by the end of the watch-alongs, after a couple drinks, it's like 10 o'clock, the pay-per-view, or it's 11 o'clock, pay-per-view's not over. I'm starting to get cranky, so my entire perception of the show starts going downhill. This was awesome. Yeah. Quick, 8 to 10, done, easy breezy. Let's do AEW first. Great night. Actually, let's do NXT first, because I want to spend some time on this.
Let me interrupt you for 2 seconds?
Yes, sir.
So between the weekend of Wrestle Kingdom and last night, it's safe to say that you already have several match of the year candidates.
Oh my God.
Stuff, right?
I know. Yep.
I don't think I'm fanboying or marking out to the point where like that's a stupid thing to say. But after watching all the wrestling that's happened in these last few days, it's like, holy shit, dude. Like there was so much great wrestling. Why not? Right?
Yeah. It was phenomenal. So I think it's so rare. Like we're 7 days in the month, like you said, and we have all this amazing stuff happening. Someone's at my door. What the hell's
that razzle dazzle?
There's somebody razzle dazzling out there.
It's
like a full-on conversation. All right, let's talk about this match because there's some news behind this. Damian Priest and Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross has returned to in-ring action. So a couple things here. First of all, reports came out, I believe WrestleVotes and Dave confirmed that Damian Priest was supposed to get called up last Friday to SmackDown. Right. And he was supposed to be Kevin Owens' partner. And he was at the taping, he was backstage, they're ready to go. And Kevin Owens pretty much said, according to the reports, that, listen, this makes no sense. Like, we don't know each other. We have not crossed paths other than the only connection is that they both were in Ring of Honor at some point. I don't even think together. They were
weird, right?
Weird thing, and Roman Reigns agreed, so they put that to kibosh on that. That's not saying he's not coming up still. I believe he's still going to get called up, but there were some issues with this match. I do not... Did you watch it? Or were you going back and forth?
I was going back and forth.
Okay.
But I think you and Mr. Gonzo were very concerned about Karrion Kross.
He did not look great. His shoulder looked off. So I could tell you, I separated my shoulder. I tore it from my clavicle about, 2 months ago now. I'm in pain. I mean, it's okay. I could do this. I could move back. But I cannot lift weights like I did. I cannot sleep on this side as comfortably as I did. It's getting better, but it takes a while. And I was like, I'm looking at his rotation is off on his punches. It's swollen still. Yeah. His body was a lot softer. I mean, listen, man, a shoulder injury is the worst. It's very difficult to kind of bounce back and come back. He came back early. That's what this is saying.
Yeah, a little too soon, you think?
Yeah, a little bit. But I understand why they did it. I understand why they put it together. Listen, man, what a great look. That intro's $1 million. That's a main event intro. That's a main event gimmick. I like what I'm seeing. I just hope that they, give him some more time to get better. I thought this was a really decent opener.
Yeah, dude. Really good opener. I really like, you can see why they want a guy like Damian Priest on the main roster. And it's unfortunate that it seems like he's kind of floating in limbo right now between NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. If you could play Booker, how would you introduce him to either show?
I would have him be on the Firefly Funhouse and be one of the Muppets. That's where I would put him. Yeah, I would make him one of the Muppets, and I wouldn't even acknowledge that it's a person. Just have him there as a Muppet with the voice and everything, with his deep voice, and just do that for like 2 years and see what happens. Guaranteed, that's a main event gimmick. Main event gimmick. 2 full years of this. Just he's hanging out with the witch, and he's hanging out, and then one day he's like, "Wait a minute, I'm a real boy," and then he realizes that he's not a Muppet, and he just walks out.
I like that. So basically, what you're saying is what you want to do is akin to having Braun Strowman on the Rosebuds.
Yes,
where he was a Rosebud forever, and then all of a sudden now he's part of the Wyatt family. So
no, but full circle. But I wanted him to be self-aware at one point that this isn't normal, and he's not actually a Muppet, and he's coming up with a way to leave. He's like, can I just get up and leave? But I have a relationship with these things. The witch and the bird and the turtle and the hamster. They're all friends. He's like, listen, guys, I got to go. They throw him a big party and he leaves. That's how I'm booking this.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You don't think you don't think he'd be better served if, let's say, a returning John Cena came back and that was like his first feud back?
Oh my, no. That's the end of his career. I'm telling you guys, so? This is how we. Yeah, forget it. No, okay. You don't want a real match. You don't want to see him perform. Just be a Muppet. That's all. And then they could draw like the sad mouth on him. They could do that. They could put a little, they could spice it up a little bit. I'm sure Vince could figure it out. Cruiserweight Championship, Gran Metalik versus Santos Escobar. I love Escobar's gimmick. He retains. Cool match.
Did you like this one? So. Yeah, I really like Santos Escobar, but he's one of those guys. Like the weird, I'm gonna remove myself from this a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I always feel like there's the meta implications of a match like this is Gran Metalik telling him don't let them put you on the main roster. You're gonna end up like me. I was the guy, Yeah. Just because as much as we like Santos Escobar, how far do you think this guy could go?
I don't know. It's up to them. I don't know.
Well, I mean, clearly it's up to it's the thing that and again, it's not a knock on anybody. Creative is creative, but you know, we've learned that hard truth over the last few years where it's like, as much as we like somebody and think they need that time to shine, it's not really in the WWE playbook. Whereas when you take the indies and AEW, Impact, etc., pretty much all the guys that left that we always said like, hey, this guy could make a big impact, has made a big impact.
Yeah.
Even on Impact.
Even on Impact. The next match, okay, I got to talk about this one. I was very into this. Zia Lee, we were laughing about this. We were joking about her being captured and all that stuff. Zia Lee looks unbelievable. Holy moly, what a transformation of this person.
Oh my God.
I think we need more Mortal Kombat gimmicks.
Yes.
I want everybody to be a Mortal Kombat character. I don't care. I want John Cena to be Sub-Zero. I want Seth Rollins to be Scorpion. I think this is great. I think this is the future of wrestling. Just Mortal Kombat characters. Dude, her traps look unbelievable. Her arm, I mean, total. If you look at her, if you go to her Twitter, her Instagram, I should say. No, it really is. But there's before and afters, and in less than a year, she's totally remade herself. Looks unbelievable.
That's
great enhancement match. I feel bad for what was her name? Katrina Cortez. Is that what it is? I felt bad for her. She took a really brutal kick to the head.
Oh yeah,
at one point. But really cool.
That looked very stiff.
Yeah. Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley. Gonzalez wins on a brutal table spot. She sold the injury, so could this be a possible call up? I don't know. I don't know what what's left for her there. I think a program with Toni Storm, a longer program with Toni Storm would make some more sense, but I don't know if this is her way out. NXT does a great job developing the women in NXT. This is, we've spoken about it. I don't think anybody has a better division. Mainstream company has a better position with women's wrestling than WWE does. The sheer amount of talent that they have is unbelievable. I think she's a great asset, and time to call her up to the main roster. Yeah, listen, she has the look. She has the whole thing going. She's a main roster feel. Just a matter of where you put her. What happened after this, Rich?
So you have a police escort to the building with The Way, and it's Johnny Gargano, Austin Theory, Indy Hartwell, and Candace LeRae debuting, I think, new outfits, right?
Yes, new outfits.
And then you had Schatzy's nutshot to Austin Theory. MG Geek was going really nuts about this.
He loved it, and he's like, oh my God, you got to see this. That's hysterical. I looked at him, I'm like, oh, okay. It didn't do anything for me. I thought it was fun.
I thought it was cool. I like, and again, like we've been fans of Schatzy Blackheart for a very long time. I think she's one of the more entertaining aspects of NXT. This was a solid entertaining. NXT. Usually, like the NXT stuff, like it's been hit or miss for us for a while.
No, it was a great show. It was quick.
Very, very solid show. So then, that was kind of the intro to Candace LeRae and Johnny Gargano versus Shotzi Blackheart and Kashida. Kashida and Shotzi win. I like that tag team. How do you feel about Kashida in NXT? It's been a while.
I don't
love them in New Japan, right? Both of us.
I love them in New Japan. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where. I know that they're trying to push him because he's really good. I don't know. I think we need more time with this. No, here's the other thing, right? Like, we're hearing the news about the second NXT show. For a long time, we were talking about it. Rumors early in the year before everything happened is that they were adding a second NXT show. NXT Underground was a working name, and this was kind of the concept, And I feel like there's a tremendous amount of talent within the NXT, the developmental program, that we don't get to see often because I think we're seeing them more now with 2 hours, but up until they went to 2 hours, we didn't really get to see a lot of it presented to us. I think a great example of that is Keith Lee, which I want to go into and what they've done to this guy. Keith Lee was in developmental for a while, but we really didn't see much of him in NXT until they started pushing his run. So I think for Kashida, he may be in that position where they just weren't ready, and now they're gonna, push him heavily.
I would hope so. I think again, like I think that pre-COVID wrestling era, Kashida would have been one of those foundations of 205 Live, you know, and you could easily see him on like a Raw or SmackDown defending that belt and having like really cool matches, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Let's go. Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly, NXT Championship. This was a great match.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it this morning, and man, these two are two of the best, really. I don't know where you go with Kyle O'Reilly now. I mean, where do you go with actually both of them after this? We know that Finn Balor is going to be carrying Cross. That's the program, right? We know that that's set up. We know that Pete Dunne has been set up. So we know that Adam Cole is still in the mix somewhat with this. So he has a number of opponents, main event matches. I mean, this is actually something that they have and AEW doesn't. That they haven't set up a lot of these contenderships yet. I think this is a positive because these are all great matches, but somebody's going to take that title from him. And I don't know if it's carrying Cross yet, but that was supposed to be the plan.
Well, all right, here's another question for you, right? Let's say Finn Balor drops that title to Karrion Kross or to Pete Dunne or whatever. What do you do with Finn Balor after that?
Back to the main roster.
And then what does he do on the main roster?
Nothing.
Don't make him a Muppet or a puppet.
Okay.
Or a marionette.
Oh, man, I was going to go with a marionette. I don't know. I got to put some thought into that because really they're really bad at shuffling these things around. And I don't know. You put him in a feud with the Miz. That's what you see happening. What is that? Kombucha? Or is that a Red Stripe? Or is it Red Stripe?
That is a kombucha. That is a Brew Doctor kombucha. Super berry. Very delicious. Yeah. Do you like kombucha?
It depends. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
All right.
I don't know. Announcements. Fight Pit is postponed due to Timothy Thatcher not being cleared. I don't know why. Dusty Tag Classic announced. There's also going to be a women's Dusty Tag Team Classic. And, of course, TakeOver announced for Valentine's Day, Sunday, February 14th. Cool. So they are not calling it St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I feel like that is a big miss by them.
Absolutely.
Let's go into some news. By the way, guys, at the end of the show, we're going to be doing our Q&A, so keep your questions ready in the chat room. If you're listening to the podcast, you can submit your questions with the hashtag MattMen2021 on Twitter. You could use that hashtag and submit your questions, and we'll be saving them throughout the week. SmackDown did 2.13 million viewers, drastically down from the week prior, where it was over 3 million. Obviously, that had a lot to do with the lead-in and everything else that's happening. Big E is getting a big push this year. I think that's a big story here. I think that's going to be a story of SmackDown, and I think I'm happy for that. He stepped up his game too. I think he knows this is his moment to shine. If he doesn't, I don't think, these moments really don't come too often. When you've been there for so long and now this is it, you better step it up. And I think he's doing a good job. Apollo Crews challenged him for this Friday. You also have the Kevin Owen scenario with John Cena. Jesus, I'm losing my mind. Roman Reigns with Jey Uso. Tremendous beatdown at the end. They murdered Kevin Owens. And once again, where are his friends? I say this all the time. I have a theory. I have a theory that all the baby faces within WWE, they're vile, terrible human beings to everybody. They have no friends. And the actual baby faces are the heels that are able to create a bond, an emotional bond amongst two adults where they are compassionate about their relationship with these people and they want to protect these people. However, on the babyface side, no one gives two shits what's happening to you. Oh, my best friend is getting beat up and murdered? Who cares?
Isn't that weird? I mean, like, all right, so for a babyface, like, let's say like Steve Austin, that worked because Austin, the character was like not a dick to everybody, but like he was the epitome of the loner, right?
But he would say, I don't want your help.
Right. Whereas like Kevin Owens is, I don't want to say he's in the same boat, but he has more of that humorous backstage persona where you would think somebody who was like, yo, I gotta help this dude. He's great.
Yeah.
If you're talking in the reality of it, like if like imagine if we were at a bar and then like intern Deacon got into a fight with some like drug dealers or something, you know?
I would just let them beat him up.
That's like, well, I was saying that's like us not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then like letting him get beat up. You know?
What's the scenario? He's getting in a fight with drug dealer or intern Deacon. Why is he getting into a fight with drug dealers?
He stole a kilo of coke and never paid them for it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
But you know,
by the way, he's not a drug addict. He doesn't use drugs.
No,
because a lot of people. Can you describe intern Deacon?
He looks like the Thin Man.
Okay.
Is that the guy I'm thinking of?
Thin Man? Slender Man? I like the Thin Man better.
If you think about the Slender Man, except he's about what would you say, like 6'7"? Like maybe weighs like 130 pounds?
Who, intern Deacon?
Intern Deacon.
6'6".
6'6",
a $120.
$120 soaking wet. Like the dude is like skin and bones. Like he's definitely got Marfans. His hands, like his fingers are super long. It's almost like he's like an Edward Scissorhands.
And you know he has wet hands always. He has sweaty hands.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It makes it even more uncomfortable to shake his hand.
And he always blows a kiss to you when you show up and when you leave.
Yep. That explains him. Raw did 2.128. Obviously the Legends were a big push for them. I believe they were not opposed. It was an unopposed night, right? With no football.
Yeah.
So you had Hulk and Rick. Hulk Hogan beginning that with that ridiculous H phone thing.
It's stupid.
Holy moly. Can I tell you how dumb that was? And it really took me a little bit of time to understand what was happening.
Yeah, me too.
What a bizarre cold open. Orton humiliated the Legends all night long. And this kind of... we're going to talk about AEW too, but I wanted to talk about this because this kind of goes into comparison here, right?
We're going to get all this out of the way before we talk about the big stuff.
I want to set this up here. And then I'll talk about Goldberg after we do this. Great. But I wanted to touch on this really quickly. WWE makes their Legends look like fools constantly. These are the biggest idiots ever. They show up and all they get is ridicule. They get made fun of and beat up constantly. Again, what a terrible environment this is for these people. I would not show up. Except for Hulk Hogan, because he looks like $1 million always, because he will not show up and be humiliated on TV. But just really bizarre. And I want to get into the Goldberg thing after AEW, because this kind of goes into some news here. Because I messaged a couple of people with what was said to me at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday that Goldberg was there. And the exact message was, hey, Goldberg's showing up, and I don't know the rest, but Drew calls him his daddy. I think. That's what he wrote to me. So I sent that. I sent that to Brian, I think. I'm like, hey, by the way, I don't know if you heard this. I didn't hear back because he probably thought it was so freaking absurd. But that's exactly kind of what happened, which we'll talk into. I want to go through AEW really quickly. Again, I don't want to run this down, but today's is just swamped with wrestling. The Young Bucks and SCU defeated the Acclaimed in TH2. SCU is challenged for the titles. This stipulation is if they lose, then the team is broken up for good. Frankie Kazarian and Chris Daniels will not tag team anymore. I think Frankie Kazarian stepped it up. He looks unbelievable the last couple of weeks. Another guy looking great. You know what, though? He does look like Randy Orton a little bit, no?
You know what? I think skin tone wise, sure, but that's about it, man. Like he's his own guy, I think, you know?
I think when he came on the show a couple years ago, if we had Harry on, it would have been too many people with an IAN last name ending in the same environment.
The internets would have exploded.
Yeah. The Stambolian, Zarian, Tarjanian, and Kazarian would have been too much. Wardlow defeated Jake Hager.
Great big man match.
Really good big man match. Really enjoyed it. Jake Hager looked good. I haven't seen him wrestle like that in a long time. Brian Cage and Darby Allin contract signing. The weigh-in was hysterical. Cage 272, Darby Allin 170. I'm actually surprised he's 170. And then Stang came out. Stang! To prevent the beatdown. Title matches next week. You had Cody with your favorite Snoop Dogg.
Uh-oh.
Oh, guys. Uh-oh. Defeated
my cousin back there?
Defeated Matt. No, sorry, Snoop. Wrong place.
What are you talking about?
Where am I? Defeated Matt Sydal Do you think Matt Sydal and Snoop smoked yesterday?
Oh, 100%. I think they got really effing high together, and then Snoop was carrying him around on his shoulders like Bad Luck Fale.
I think Matt Sydal just smoked Snoop. He just
you think so? He just rolled him up?
Yeah, he just rolled up Snoop and just smoked him. Luther and Serpentico attacked Cody and Sydal. Sydal saved him. Snoop hit a really terrible frog splash where he nearly murdered Serpentico with his knees on his chest. Dude, I got to talk to you about Abaddon, okay?
Wow, so frightening. Terrifying. Okay, so terrifying.
I don't care about her wrestling. I just want that entrance. And I just want her to bite people. Entrance. Her gimmick is that it's not a gimmick. She lives this gimmick. She's a wacko. Jericho did good on commentary with this. And that she just bites you. And she essentially was biting Shida the entire match. Shida won. But I think this looked good for Abaddon.
Yeah. No, she's great, man. And she looks completely the opposite out of her makeup than she does in the ring.
Oh, my God. It's nutty. It's so crazy. Totally different person.
Can I ask you a question here?
Yeah.
What is the realm of possibility that it turns out that kayfabe-wise, Darby Allin is Sting's long-lost son?
Can you? You know what? I don't care what anybody says. I want that to become the character. But he treats Darby like a kid.
Yeah, like he's his 12-year-old kid.
Yeah. It's his 12-year-old kid. He's like, no, Dad, I'm gonna go skateboard. And he's like, no, it's time for bed.
He's like, I'm 27, dude. And then Sting's like, no, you're not. You're 12.
Yeah.
And then they show them doing father and son.
I love it. I think that should be the next vignette. They need vignettes of this.
The Snoop Dogg thing was cringy at times, but I gotta say, like, it seems like that whole, again, this is my own perception. It seems like that whole bit was an FU to WWE because Snoop has showed up on WWE TV so many times and they never let him do a frog splash.
They never know.
Right.
No.
They never let him do a frog. I honestly thought he was going to go for an elbow.
I think he would shatter. I think he would have shat. He's not a young man.
No, he's not. He's like 70 years old, dude.
He's like 75 years old. Yeah.
He's like 80 years old, man.
Yeah.
What would your reaction have been if he did a 450?
Oh, I would have just turned the TV off and never spoken about wrestling again. It would be the end.
You're done.
I would have called Brian. I'm like, listen, Brian, I'm so sorry. I can't do the show anymore. Snoop just did a 450. Yeah.
But he'd call it a 4-splifty.
Yes, a 4-splifty.
So good.
What else? And then the main event, obviously, unbelievable main event. Kenny Omega with Don Callis defeated Rey Fenix in a fantastic match. And the match was so freaking good.
Yeah.
That I don't know how the ending could have topped it, but the ending topped it where Don Callis came in, cut a promo in the ring, and showed a backstage moment where Kingston, Butcher, and The Blade were shown beating up Pac and Phoenix.
Right.
Not Phoenix, I'm sorry. Pac and Penta. And Moxley came to attempt to... Moxley came into the ring with his bat, starts beating up on Kenny, and who shows up? It's the Good Brothers. Oh, so you have Gallows and Anderson do a total beatdown, and Kenny has the bat, and now all the people around the ring start coming in, but they beat the crap out of everybody. Here come the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks are trying to settle everything, but they end up super kicking. Who did they super kick? Who was it? Not Jungle Boy. Was it Pillman Jr.? Or maybe
Griff
Pillman.
Garrison, maybe?
Somebody. I can't remember who it was.
I was so excited that I was just like, I can't believe this is happening, dude, and did not care about anybody else in that ring.
So I was watching it, but I was watching, but not watching because I rewatched it this morning. And I was like, oh, Rich is losing his mind. And I'm seeing the text messages in the Matman group. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Rich is definitely losing his mind right now.
I did a backflip right out my window. And I backflipped so hard out of my window that I crashed through the sunroof in my car and just started driving around the neighborhood.
Yeah. So, and then here's the best part. The Young Bucks, at the end, did a 2-sweep, but they didn't call it that. They called it the famous hand symbol, as said by Excalibur, because they can't say it.
They can't say to sweep me, right? Like
I don't know. I don't know what they can't. There's a whole thing because WWE owns the rights on this, right? They own like selling merch like this, but I don't think they could prevent people from doing that or saying, I don't know. I gotta look at that. There's just some weird thing, but listen, they're going, they're cutting it really close with the calling it the Bullet Club and on Impact and all that stuff. Very interesting. So now you have a mini Bullet Club reunion of Gallows, Anderson, Kenny Omega, and the Bucks.
Major Bullet Club reunion.
Yeah, it's a major. Also, actually, it is. Yeah, it is a major Bullet. It is the Bullet Club.
Also, 5 years almost to the day that AJ got kicked out of Bullet Club.
Is it really?
Yeah. So because they were posting, all those guys were posting shots of like it was like the pose of Kenny holding AJ's head, and they're all doing the 2 sweets and like the gun stuff. And they were all doing it. So it was kind of like a hint that's been like, they've been hinting at this for a little bit, you know? And they pulled it off, man. They pulled it off so well. What was your initial reaction to it when you saw Matt go for the final 2 sweet?
I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. By the way, little note from this. If you noticed, which was it, Matt or Nick that hit the super kick? It was Matt, right?
Matt hit the super kick.
Yeah, because Nick is hurt from the match with the Acclaimed in the opener. He really thought he screwed up his knee or his leg, and he didn't go for the super kick. So I'm sure he was feeling something, but not a good time to get hurt.
No, not at all. So very, very interesting ending. It also, like, me personally, like, it made me think, like, holy shit, dude, like, these guys, this faction has been around since 2013. It's been 7 years, right? And who would you say is on top of the wrestling business? It's still the Bullet Club in this weird turn of events. God, IWGP champs, Jay White in the main event of night 2 at WrestleMania, like a firm
Wrestle
Bullet
Kingdom
Club guy.
Wrestle Kingdom.
Sorry. Yeah. Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, you know what? You're teasing something.
Maybe. So, Jay White, night 2, Wrestle Kingdom, main event. Finn Balor, NXT champion, main eventing NXT New Year's Evil. Kenny Omega, AEW champion, showing up on Impact, teaming with the Good Brothers, who are Impact champs. Bucks are AEW tag champs. So they have all the gold for the most part, right?
Yeah.
If AJ Styles got that WWE championship at some point, it's an insane 7-year culmination of these guys, right?
Yeah.
The second thing I kind of want to mention is, after last night's reunion, it almost retconned Cody in the Bullet Club, right? Like it was like, oh, he was never in the Bullet Club.
Yeah. You know what? That is interesting though, right? Like, you don't when you think of the Bullet Club, you never think of him, but he was there. I mean, the whole Civil War thing was starting with him.
Oh yeah, he was arguably like their biggest get, right? Like post AJ Styles.
Yeah, I think it was a huge guy, but him and Hangman were really, Hangman, you had Marty, you had Hangman, you had him, but he's like a weird anomaly in the group, you know, because he didn't come from that they didn't come up together, but he was a good get. But I'm curious how this plays with him, because, you know, these were his guys too.
Right. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And like, you can go into like that history of modern pro wrestling and see like the impact that the Bullet Club had on the business. But also, I don't think a lot of people know this, but Kevin Steen was the one who put Cody in touch with the Young Bucks. Right?
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
From like when he left WWE, basically saying like, hey, these guys are great guys. They'll help you out, you know? Yeah. And then from there, joining the Bullet Club, Civil War, All In.
Which they never did properly.
You know, I liked it, but it just seemed like the booking was weird.
It ended.
Because, it ended. But then going from All In and then to AEW, you know? So, like, it's a very fascinating trajectory of modern pro wrestling, you know? And the other thing about the Bullet Club is, like, at some point, them and the Bucks became like this weird divisive thing in pro wrestling from pro wrestling fans, where it went from like, oh, it's really cool to like them, to F them, I hate them. You know, and we're kind of seeing that now, right?
It's everything is less facts and more perception. That's all it comes down to. It's all perception. It's how that pendulum is swinging, you know, how for that day, and that's how the momentum shifts. It is interesting. Impact Wrestling, I watched it this week. Really interesting stuff. Tony Khan's promo on Don Callis was hysterical. The Good Brothers and Kenny did refer to themselves as the Bullet Club, and he did the full life thing at the end. Hard to Kill is next Saturday, January 16th. Do we see more AEW people show up? Do the Bucks show up?
That would be kind of cool, but
I want them to show up and be in the Generation Me outfits. You know, just call them Generation Me, and don't even call them the Bucks.
Matt Buck and Nick Buck?
Matt Buck and Nick Buck, the Buck brothers.
That would be hysterical.
Yeah. So, a couple of news stories here. Guys, by the way, submit your questions in the chat room. Adam and MG Geek is going to add them to the notes, and we will discuss them as they come in. Marty Scurll is a big story here. Ring of Honor and Marty have mutually parted ways. I think this would be a way bigger story if it wasn't for the controversy that Marty had early on in the year. I think his stock has dropped a little bit. I don't know where he goes. I would say NXT. I don't. You know, there were a lot of photos of him hanging out with those guys and everything going on there, but I don't know. I don't know what the story with Marty is. I don't. What would be best for him? Because really, his star has dimmed since going to Ring of Honor more than anything else.
Yeah, I think, you know, like the pandemic and the allegations didn't help at all. Like the Villain Enterprises was a lot of fun, you know, like between him, Brody, and PCO.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, do I want to see Marty again? Sure. I also, at this point, I'm kind of I'm not excited by it. You know, like I want to see.
I'm not either.
Sure, but I feel like if this was pre-pandemic, pre-allegations, absolutely one of the hottest free agents, right? If this happened like a year and a half ago, but it didn't. You know, so like I think we kind of have that malaise of excitement where we're like, all right, whatever, dude.
Yeah. Something else that came by, and I got to follow up on this, but it looks like AEW is going to be going to Miami in February.
Sweet.
This is according to bodyslam.net. I gotta confirm someplace else, but All Elite Wrestling will be moving to Miami for the month of February for the TV tapings. It was noted that Miami's a temporary move, and they're calling Daly's place in Jacksonville since home in May. I don't know what this means. I gotta find out more, but then that would put them in for their pay-per-view to be in Miami.
Right.
The reason behind this is that there's a lot of complaints about wrestlers in the freezing weather outdoor, as well as a change of scenery to serve as a morale booster. I don't know if it's that necessary for them to do this.
Why is that?
I don't think aesthetically there's a problem with their TV. I mean, that's for me. I just feel like there's. And by the way, Daly's place is not a great building to shoot, right? Remember in the early tapings, it kind of looked bad because they were facing a wall. But because of the upgrades that they've made and how they're shooting a ramp now, it's helped way more. But I don't know. Do you think they need to go to Miami? Where are they going to go? Are they going to have fans? I don't know what the answer to this is.
The beach.
Put them on the beach.
Put them on the beach. You know what? Like, I think a change of scenery is healthy. I don't know about the morale thing, but I think a change of scenery for perception, absolutely. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they're back to the Dynamite Zone.
The Dynamite Zone. Here's the other big story here, and this was interesting. New Japan is getting a new US TV deal. It's been reported, and a lot of my info that I get comes from the TV side of things. But the rumor is that who said it? Kevin Kelly said, "I love the color purple."
It was on the American commentary broadcast of Wrestle Kingdom.
And then they did a tweet too, and they wrote they alluded to something purple on the New Japan Global Twitter account.
Now, what's purple?
What's purple? HBO Max is purple.
HBO Max is very purple. It's almost. Are you HBO Max also? Because right behind you, it looks like there's a lot of purple.
You know what? It's not HBO Max, guys. New Japan is coming over to the GFK network. It's coming over to Mat Men. That's where it's coming. It's coming over to the Observer. This is where it's headed. I am New Japan. I don't know. I don't know what network is purple. I don't know what it could be. Is BN Sports purple?
Huh. Interesting.
Are they purple? Let's see. Yeah, they are purple. BN Sports is purple.
Oh, very interesting.
It is. I mean, it is interesting because I believe they're. Yeah, I don't know. MLW was with them for a long time, right? Couple years. They're still on there.
So HBO Max or BN.
I mean, I guess it would be BN Sports or HBO Max right now. Actually, if you go over to the BN Sports website, on their front page is MLW anthology of Jimmy Havoc and
interesting
and Warner in a barbed wire match, which is weird to see on the front page of this. A lot of wrestling on their page. So I don't know. Maybe it's BN. I don't know if that's a good get for them. Obviously, better than Access. Twitch. Maybe they're going to go Twitch is purple. Twitch is purple. The Hallmark channel's purple. HBO Max is purple. So I don't know. But I reached out to a couple of my friends over at Warner Media because remember, it's connected there. They didn't really respond with like, oh, yeah, this is happening or it's not happening. They're like, oh, I don't know. I'll ask. So if it's not a buzz, I don't know how much of a big deal it is right now.
I'm very excited to see what happens. As a fan, I would love it to be on HBO Max.
Ah, man, I would love it too. I would absolutely love it too.
But is that in the realm of possibility?
Is that in the realm of possibility? I don't know. But they're going to announce it soon.
Okay.
Should be very soon. All right, Q&A time, boys and girls. If you're in the chat room, submit your questions. We will do our best to answer it. If it's something we know, we will answer. All right,
got a couple of good ones so far.
Let's do it.
So let's see here. John Gorman asks, does this Bullet Club reunion set up a future Blood and Guts match? Great question, since they couldn't do it in 2020.
Say that again, Rich, because you broke up in my headphones throughout the entire thing.
Can you hear me? Am I good?
Yeah, hold on.
Check one, check two.
Oh, much better. Thank you.
You shut off my microphone.
I shut off your mic to nobody. All right, go ahead.
Does this Bullet Club reunion set up a future Blood and Guts match since they couldn't do it in 2020?
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. I wonder who else is going to get brought into this. You know, there's a lot of moving parts. They definitely have to do that Blood and Guts match because obviously everything was built out for it, right? They were going to do it in Jersey,
right?
And obviously the pandemic happened and everything, so you couldn't get it. So the concept is finalized. It's not like they don't have the concept for it. I think they're just waiting to do this in front of a larger live crowd. Also, Jim Ross on commentary said that there were about 600 to 700 people in the building last night for that show. That's pretty big for what they've been doing, because they've been doing only a couple hundred people. So people showed up for this one. They've been struggling a little bit to sell these tickets because you're in the same market. You're in Jacksonville. You're not getting tourism. You're getting locals that are just showing up that live in the area.
Yeah. You want to move on to the next question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Caleb asks, why do the talent in AEW who paint their faces only paint half of it? Is there some significance to it?
Yeah, they're not allowed.
Well, apart from Abaddon.
No, nobody's allowed. She broke the rules.
Okay.
Tony Khan hates full face paint. He likes like Road Warrior face paint, and he likes like half face paint, but nothing full. He does not want to see full face paint. He said it looks like a kid's party. He told me that personally when he called me.
What's staying?
He's staying. He just ignores it. There's nothing he could do. That's his actual face. That's Steve Borden's face.
Would you like to see Snoop Dogg in full face paint?
I want to see Snoop Dogg in half face paint and tights.
I want to see Snoop Dogg regular, right? But then when he takes off his sunglasses, he's got face paint sunglasses on.
What about Miro's pot leaf jumpsuit?
Miro was dressed like my grandmother's wallpaper yesterday.
Listen, I love it. My grandfather from Bulgaria had the same exact outfit. It's funny.
Let's see here. Chocolate Thunder asks, will AEW actually buy Impact and make it its second show?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I mean, listen, there's a lot of... I do find a couple things interesting here. One would be that library, that AEW library, is worth a lot of money. You know, think about the amount of talent that they've had from 2002 on that have had great matches there. If anybody was going to purchase anything, I think WWE would have been that person. And they have a number that they pay per hour. And I talk about this all the time, and I keep forgetting to confirm it. It was like, I'm going to throw out a number. I'm not 100%. Let's say it's $350 per hour of tape. You got to remember, they had a 1 hour show for a while. Then they had a 2 hour show. But like it didn't make sense for them to sell it based on that. Like that's how they bought, you know, certain libraries, that like the AEW library. They paid for just the hour. But for Impact, they've done a decent job at reusing a lot of that older stuff and having their subscription model and having all that stuff and having it on YouTube. I don't know if AEW would want to buy them. You know, they're owned by the station, and right now they're getting hot. I don't think the purpose would be to sell. I think the purpose would be to kind of make some money off of this and have a property for the cable channel.
Okay.
I don't know if it makes sense for them, but listen, who knows? Everything is always for sale. I say that all the time. Everything is for sale.
That is true. Like, you never know. Like 10, 15, 20 years from now, you never know who's going to own what. You know,
people buy and sell me regularly every day.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm like a stock.
But you run away afterwards.
Yeah,
you're very coy about it.
I'm very coy.
Deals, you take the money and then go, deals off, buddy.
And I just run with a suitcase of singles flying out.
Oh, you get paid in singles?
Yeah, always.
I try to get paid in Susan B. Anthony dollar coins.
You know what I have? It's so funny. So remember I told you a couple years ago I found a bunch of coins in my wall?
Yeah, didn't you get like really mad one night and just start punching holes into your wall?
No, I my hand went through the wall. It's an old. My house is 120 years old, and this is one of the ones that I found.
Oh wow, look at that!
It is from 1795.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What's the denomination on that?
It's $1. But it's weird. It's Ronald Reagan just drinking a beer on the front. I don't know if it's real or not.
Let me see.
No, it's
that is pretty cool. Coin guys are also coin guys.
I love coins.
Coin collectors are weird.
I'm not a coin collector, but I'm really into coins.
Really into old-timey coins?
Old-timey coins. Love it. I'm going to start using... You know what? I want to try to use one. And I'm going to be like, nah, give it back to me. I want to see what they do.
Like at the pizzeria?
At the pizzeria. Brandon in our chat room says, I'm strictly a $2 guy myself.
Getting paid them $2 bills.
$2 bills.
All right. So Charlie Thunder had a supplementary question. Who will take the AEW title off of Kenny, and who would take the tag titles from the Bucks?
Oh, that's a great question. So who do you think is in the if you ask me, I think it has to be, if you build this program long and he keeps the title, it has to be Hangman at a major pay-per-view, right? That's what you kind of want to build to, because right now Hangman is in the rebuilding phase. So this will be 2021 will be the year that he starts rebuilding and he becomes, once the live crowd comes, people will be hot for him. But I think it has to be Hangman. But there's a lot of, you could do Moxley again, you could do Jericho, but I think Jericho is starting to, phase out slowly. Who else do they have for you? Who do you think?
I honestly and this might be me fanboying.
Is this like a wacko answer? I want
it's not
this.
Gonna be a wacko answer.
Okay.
Because I don't have like a definitive person.
I thought you were going with Toru Yano.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. But I think it's gonna end up being somebody who's not part of AEW, who takes the belt, and then that's the implosion of what they're doing now, where they're like, yo, how could you lose that belt to so and so?
Ethan Page.
Right? Or Jay White or whoever. Yeah. Like he's on a different show. Like, how could you lose that belt? He's in a different country. How could you lose that belt to him? I think it's going to be a surprise when Kenny loses the belt, and to who.
Well, you also have a number of great opponents from him. You have Penta, you have Cage, you have Pac, you have Archer, Hangman, Cody.
Yeah,
you could bring Cody in the mix. There's a tremendous amount of people that could challenge for it, which I'm excited to see. But I think it has to be Hangman. Hangman has to kick out of that one-winged angel.
You think he's going to be the only guy that does it?
He'll be the first one.
Okay. All right. Scar Happy, question for Andrew.
Yes.
What is your main event choice for WrestleMania 2022 without The Rock as a choice?
Screwed me on that one. 2022 main event. Obviously, the answer is Bill Goldberg somewhere in there, right? Because that's what everybody wants to see. We all want to see Bill Goldberg.
It says in the notes that you needed to gloat today.
I need to gloat, yes, because I told everybody on Monday about Bill Goldberg. I'm going to get back to that answer. I need a second to think about it. But on Monday at 2:00, when my friend over there messaged me, and it's so funny how they get me to say I know something or they want to tell me something. So I'll say this. He wrote Happy New Year. Mm-hmm. I wrote Happy New Year, and he goes, "Hi, you know who's showing up tonight, right?" I said, "Who?" He goes, "I'm asking if you know." I said, "I've been swamped, dude. Who?" And he goes, "I'm not telling you, but who's next?" And I said, boy. "Okay, now you got to tell me." And he goes, he goes, "I don't have exact details, but I believe Drew's going to call him his daddy." I said, "In like a sexy way or like a childish way?" He goes, "I don't know, man. You know how this company is." And that was it. He didn't call him daddy. He said, "You could be my dad."
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Did you pop for Goldberg, or were you just like?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel, but listen, man, I don't necessarily hate seeing him, but I don't love seeing him. Okay.
Listen, according to the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, you're not allowed to have an opinion on Goldberg or Sting now.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't go on the internet.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I listen. Do I want Bill Goldberg having the championship? No, I don't. I don't want to see him have a run on top. It's not a thing I want to see. Do I think it's cool that he shows up every now and then and pops the ratings and people are into it? Yeah, whatever you're into, it's okay. But I don't really get into the whole like, oh my God, Bill Goldberg's ruining the show. Listen, the show's not great to begin with. I don't think Bill Goldberg is hurting it. I think it probably, the ending was interesting, and obviously they're gonna have a Drew match at Rumble. I really hope he beats Goldberg. And listen, what a great, where this makes sense? You know what I would love to see? Drew really beat Bill Goldberg. Like, beat him. And you're like, listen, man, like, I'm at top of my freaking game. I'm the best guy in this company. I'm gigantic. I'm not going to lose to a 50-year-old man. Like, I'm at the peak of my career, my body, my athleticism, and you're an older guy. I mean, if they did that, I'd be like, you know what? Pretty cool. I get it.
So, okay. So, can I posit to you a scenario / kind of like kayfabe thing?
Yeah.
It seems like Drew is living up to that late 2000s moniker of being the chosen one, right?
Okay.
In that regard, he's kind of old schooled his way into like being this old school big man champion. He's getting the rub from Hogan on TV, right? I think regardless of how you feel about Hogan, still pretty big, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Listen, man, I'm sure he loved every moment of that.
Right. And
as
now,
a fan.
And I think they're really attaching that wagon to Drew. Great champ. Like, we've said it for a while. Look at this dude. Dude's got everything. Like, he's firing on all cylinders. I want the Goldberg match to go like this. No lockup. Goldberg goes for a spear. Drew leapfrogs a spear. Claymore, 1, 2, 3. Quick match. Goldberg's done. And then Drew carries that momentum into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I always said that. By the way, I think that's a great idea. I have always said, if you're going to use Goldberg, use him for quick things, right? Mm-hmm. Have him do like something. You want to use them properly? Have Bill Goldberg in a match on Raw, facing just somebody else that's not in a major picture. Have him come out, do something. Okay, you know what? You pop the crowd, whatever. You saw him for 3 minutes, whatever. I don't really want to see him in major programs, but I also was never a tremendous Bill Goldberg fan.
Same here.
Here's what I'm asking you now, okay?
Please.
Take Goldberg out of this. Yeah, you person. Take Goldberg out, right?
Okay.
Let's make it Steve Austin, one of the most beloved people in pro wrestling of all time. Would the complaints be there if it was Austin that came out and challenged Drew for the title at Royal Rumble? No. The internet would blow up. again, it's perception. It's not about an old person taking a spot, because there's plenty of spots. It's more about the perception of who you like and who you don't like. And Bill Goldberg doesn't have a good rep.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
You know what? Like, here's Andrew. Did you know that sometimes people just like to bitch so they can?
Of course,
bitch?
Yeah. I didn't know that.
If it was, did you know what the internet is really just people bitching about shit?
I thought it was all fake. It was just bots.
It's bots that are programmed to bitch. That's what the internet is. It's just everybody's a bitch. Everybody's a bot that's programmed to bitch.
That's it.
So, but if Austin came out, you know what? I feel like it would be the same reaction of like, who is this guy? This guy can't go anymore. What are they going to do with him? Why is it Drew McIntyre? Blah, blah, blah. Goldberg's an interesting choice because he had something that our favorite superstars didn't have, right? And get ready for this. He was the poster boy for WCW, but he was also a super jock.
Yeah, you know, like, and I think people don't like that.
He had that presence of like he was a super jock, you know. Like when you look at Steve Austin, do you think immediately like, oh, this guy's like a big old jock? No, you don't
get that. Yeah, but here's the other thing, right? Like Edge is a good example. Edge is going to be 48 this year.
Wow.
Nobody said, "Oh my God, Edge." You know what I like? Again, I understand where people fall in this. I get it because I kind of have that a little bit. Like, I don't necessarily... I like seeing Sting on TV because I know Sting is not going to be their champion and be their front runner. Right. When the first time Bill Goldberg won the title, the Universal title, I thought it was more of a redemption story, and it was like like, hey, listen, we're going to take care of you. Trust us. And it was also to add prestige to that new title belt. That now you have Bill Goldberg holding it. You have, you had two younger guys. You have him. You have Brock Lesnar, and you built a prestige. When you look at that list in 10 years, and you have like 20 champions or 20, whatever you're gonna do, you're like, oh, Bill Goldberg had this. Brock Lesnar had this. Whoever else. So I think that was a purpose. I don't now. Do you put a title on him? No, I don't want to see him with a title.
It could happen though.
It could. Listen, dude, I'm not even gonna say it because it's always possible.
Yeah.
I do not believe that Sting is ever going to possibly hold the AEW championship, but you don't know. Jericho's their first champion. He's a guy in his 50s,
but he could still go. That's the thing. Like, Sting's 61, riddled with injuries. I think AEW does a great job with using the presence of Sting. And like it's more. It's that the Sting nostalgia is rooted, I think, in decades of being on TNT, right? Like being with Turner. The Goldberg thing is fascinating.
Give me your best Goldberg. Give me your best Goldberg right now.
Who's next?
That's it.
Ooh. I want him to make other noises, like really weird,
like weird noises. Wow, wow, like the Three Stooges.
Like who's next? Like he's trying real hard to open that the bottle
can
of pickles.
Pickle jar, yeah. Love it. So I don't know, man. I think is the argument that you don't want older guys, or is the argument that you by the way, Scar Happy, I'm gonna give the answer here. Is the argument that you don't want older guys, or is the argument that you don't want people that really weren't great workers? I don't know. I think for a whole different group of people, not the people listening to this, not the people that subscribe to the Observer, not the mainstream, not the niche, P1 viewership that we are, but the casual fan will probably have the opposite response that we have. They don't really care about the worker. They want to see Bill Goldberg. They want to see Sting. They want to see, people from their childhood because it's nostalgia and it works. It works temporarily, but it works. It's
like your favorite scene in a movie, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indiana Jones like shoots the guy with the sword, that's like Goldberg is almost the epitome of a moment like that, where it's like people listen, like some wrestling fan's mom doesn't care about Goldberg's in-ring work and his footwork and how he hits the ropes. They're just like, oh, this guy's big. He looks like he can kick some ass. Whoa, this guy's older. He looks like he can kick some ass. I think at the end of the day, that's the perception, right?
Yeah.
What would you do if
Bill Goldberg showed up at my house and asked me if I want to date his daughter?
Yeah, what would you do?
Banging
him. Bring this one back.
I'm gonna tell you, I dated a girl. Her father kind of looked like Bill Goldberg, but like a very Italian version of Bill Goldberg.
Contractor?
And he what?
Was he a contractor?
He was definitely a contractor. He was definitely in the waste management business, and he showed up at my house asking if I was taking his daughter out. I'll never. This is swearing everything. This is a legitimate story. He asked me if I'm taking his daughter out, and I said yes, we're going out. Like he just showed up at my house. He goes, okay, here are the keys. You don't drive your car, you drive my car. And it was his Mercedes. He had an S500 Mercedes, and I was like, I'm like, no, we're not. I'm not even taking my, because I was meeting the girl like by the bar, by the house, you know. It's like 18 years old, and he's like, no, you're gonna take my car and you're gonna bring her home in my car. I'm like, how am I getting home?
Exactly.
How am I getting home? Never. I ended up not going out with her. I was like, you know what, this is too much.
You almost got dad cucked.
I almost, yeah. I didn't want to do it. So the question of the 2022 WrestleMania main event, Bill Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, because that's what everybody wants to see. I don't know what. You know what? Let's do this.
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna throw it out there. Ready? I'm gonna go 2022. I cannot use The Rock.
Right.
I will use John Cena.
Perfect.
And I will use Randy Orton to figure out who becomes a 17-time champion.
I like that, but I feel like that would be like if they split the WrestleMania over 2 nights. I feel like that's a good night one main event.
Yeah, I think that's fine. You know? Or I don't know. It's always going to be somebody from that group, right? If you're going to do like a major match like that.
Absolutely. I think also like the Roman Reigns story is far from over, and I do think you're gonna have some kind of Cena happening. You know, like you had the Rock Cena once in a lifetime. You're gonna have like Roman Cena once in a lifetime part 3.
Yeah, whatever it is.
What if Bill Goldberg's grunt was like just like a really, like an over it hipster? Like he's like, who's next?
Okay, I guess you.
Just a big over it sigh.
I got one. Roman Reigns, CM Punk.
In 2022?
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
Okay.
No, you know why? Because CM Punk if CM Punk is coming back, it has to be this in 2021.
Yeah, but you set up for 2022. He shows up like in October.
Okay.
You know?
Maybe. What would pop you if you were like, yo, that's a damn good main event for WrestleMania?
With like realistic people?
Realistic, yeah.
I would do, if you know, let's play with CM Punk. I think CM Punk would be cool. I would do CM Punk, and I would do, who could he face now in that roster? AJ Styles. There you go. AJ and CM Punk. That would be my main event.
Okay.
That would be a match I want to see. Not necessarily a main event, but I think that would be a cool match.
Okay.
Or Daniel Bryan. How about, listen, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles for the World Championship. How about that? That's a cool match to see. I don't know how many people want that as a main event, but I think that's cool. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. You know, 2 total polar opposite type of human beings that came up during the same era. And one got his WrestleMania. One got the WrestleMania spot because of CM Punk, essentially. That's a good program.
Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar. Daniel Bryan, John Cena. Daniel Bryan, John Cena.
Okay. You know what? I would love that.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, because the story there is I stuck with the company and got busted up until I got better, and I'm still an active wrestler, and you left to do Hollywood. You know, you do the same thing. Same thing that Austin and Rock did.
Yeah, that could be a great final match for him, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are we done with questions, or are we wrapping it up?
Take a look here. I think there was one question that I kind of wanted to check out here. Okay, Brandon Georgialakis in the chat room.
Oh, we got a Greek guy.
When does you have to ring a bell every time?
Every time I pop for the Greek fans. Yorgos.
When does I have a joke for a dirty watch along that I'm saving?
Okay, perfect. Please save it.
When does WWE do their first show with fans?
Okay. WrestleMania will have fans.
2021.
2021. and the night after WrestleMania will be the first show with an indoor building with fans. Let's go with that.
Oh wow, okay.
Listen, April's around the corner. You know?
Yeah, dude.
Like I spoke to the guys over at MSG a couple days ago because a buddy of mine has season tickets for the Rangers. And the Rangers, they believe, they are under the impression that by late February, early April, there will be fans in that building at the Garden. Enclosed building, by the way, MSG, right? There's going to be about 5,000 people in that building, and they're going to rotate the tickets amongst season ticket holders. So like every X amount of games, you're going to be able to access that.
Okay.
So, you know, New York's not looking that great right now. And if that was that was a conversation 2 weeks ago and it still wasn't looking good. So they're getting prepared for this. They're getting prepared to kind of slowly ease everything back in. So if they're looking at late February, early April, then it's very possible they could run something with fans in Florida or anywhere else. Yeah, that was my answer there. All right, I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done, baby.
All right, my babies. Hey, listen, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking out the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Mattman Podcast on Twitter, Andrew Zarian on Twitter, BTC Rich on Twitter. Mattman Podcast is available everywhere, and of course on the Wrestling Observer website, figure4online.com website. If you go to f4wonline.com, you can see us right on the front page right now. They just put the story that we're debuting on Figure 4 Online this Thursday. Today, so we're going to be editing the show, posting it out there, which is going to be awesome. Also, Facebook, you can join the Facebook group there. We're on Instagram, instagram.com/MattmanPodcast, and subscribe to the podcast, guys. Follow us, subscribe, like, do all that stuff. I hate doing that plug. It sucks. I hate telling people. I'm like, hey, man, also hit that bell.
Smash that like button,
Smash that
dude.
like button and ring the bell.
Smash that like button, Poppy.
Yuck. All right, guys. That's it for this week. Love you guys, and we'll be back next Thursday. Take care.